Well, hello everyone. Stoke shit is back, now 13% more handsome. Let's break some things.
Pick up the phone, let it happen. Give me a sign, I'll make it happen.
It's me, Bobby, and I know it's been a long time since I posted on YouTube, so I thought that the best thing to do to ease myself back into this sort of thing was to talk about something that's really fresh in my mind. And it has to do with this last music video I did for Bringer, Black and Gold. I think the opening scene of Scream is one of my favorite and the best in horror movie history. It's got Drew Barrymore running around, being terrorized, and then just at the very beginning, I think it's brilliant in a lot of ways. But one of the things that I like the most about it is just sort of the random, under the surface violence, right? The guy just like throws a chair through a door. Why does he do that? I don't know. But we knew when it was time to make an homage to that scene that we had to get it right. Our first thought was Sugar Glass.
What are you doing here, Jill? What just happened?
Well, we were trying to make Sugar Glass for the music video that we're gonna make coming up for Black and Gold. Because we gotta smash a couple of doors in.
Here's the scene we need to create. Obviously, since it's being punched through, it needed to break easily and predictably. So, enter a little movie magic. Making sugar glass is simple. Not necessarily easy, but simple. All you need to do is mix 3.5 cups sugar, 2 cups of water, a cup of corn syrup, and a 1/4 teaspoon of tartar together and heat your concoction up to 300 degrees Fahrenheit without boiling it too quickly. If you get impatient and go too fast, your sugar glass will caramelize and end up too dark.
This one's a little yellow.
If you get it hotter than 320 degrees or so, you'll have the same problem, so you have to monitor it closely.
So it's gonna be a while.
We found it took us a little more than an hour to make it the first time, but this batch turned out a bit too yellow. The panes we made for the final shot here took us about 2 hours apiece to bring to the correct temperature. In order to make our pane of glass, we first created a small frame out of wood and measured it to match the size of the window we would need to shatter.
Yeah, we got 4 bits of wood in.
We stapled it together so it would keep its shape, and then started to layer aluminum foil into the frame to create our mold. Be sure not to use wax paper like we did the first time. It sticks.
It's not gonna come off.
Not good.
We have the concept.
When it came time to actually shoot it, we removed the real window from the wall and slotted our new pane into it. Then we stapled a thin frame to the front of the sugar glass to make it look like a real window. We also had to use gaff tape. Pretend you can't see that.
Action! Go!
Yeah, nailed it.
So the idea of the sugar glass was sound, and the effect of breaking it was perfect. The only problem was we could not figure out a way to make a pane big enough to fit in the door, so we had to come up with something else. And as we were thinking to ourselves, how do we fake breaking a door? We thought, why don't we just not fake it? So we didn't. We didn't. We did it for real. Since we'd already decided to break real doors for the effect, we knew that we needed to grab a plate of the actual location with Jill's reaction to use later. Aaron, could you take a list of all the lights that we have and take a couple of pictures of where they're set? And that way... So the most important thing about pulling this off was getting our measurements right. In order to fake it correctly, we had to make sure that the perspective matched for the green screen and for the plate. We measured from the lens to both sides of the door, the height of our tripod, the angle of the camera, and then noted the position of our lights. Seth was able to find a pair of matching doors on Craigslist for $100, so that's what we decided to use. We started by screwing a 2x to the stud in the ceiling of his garage. On either side of that, we nailed 2 boards measured to the height of the ceiling, and then affixed the door onto them so that the entire thing was visible to the camera. The door itself was wedged against the far wall.
Hey, braced.
Braced.
I mean, the term I would use.
Braced.
Right.
Sorry.
Seriously wedged.
Since there was just one sheet of glass, Seth cut small pieces of wood out to make it look more like the doors in the actual house. We weren't too worried about making them look perfect, since I knew we weren't going to be cutting before the chairs started flying through the glass, only after it struck it.
Seth, you ready to do this?
We used our measurements to place the camera where we needed it, and used a still frame of the plate we got in the house to make last-minute tweaks.
Yes!
Now, I am contractually and morally obligated to tell you not to try this at home, even though that's what we did. Don't do this. But it's really fun.
I want to come in your house and stab you!
It turns out tempered glass is pretty hard to break.
Again! Just finish it!
Huh?
Finish the job! Finish the job now!
What are you gonna do?
Finish it while we can still get a break!
Oh my.
Do it now!
Okay, here.
Let's give him the old razzle dazzle! Yeah!
We broke both doors and got the effect from 3 different angles.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, say action.
Oh, just say sorry. Wait, really quick. Yeah, action.
I'm gonna get in this house!
When I got the footage back into After Effects, I started out by keying out the door from one of the shots. Then I hid that layer and dropped in the plate we shot from the corresponding angle and masked out the door that we needed broken. I unhid the green screen layer and used the curves tool to match the color of the door to the rest of the footage. The final step was to grab another plate that I shot that night to fill in the background behind the door, though I wish I'd matched the perspective up a bit better. Make sure that you darken this enough that it's visible but not too obvious. Rinse and repeat for all your angles and voila. Now, obviously, with everything that you're trying for the first time, there are some things that I would have done differently. I would have been more careful about how I lit the door both times because there was a lot of stuff that didn't quite work as far as how shadows behaved when the door moved. But all in all, I think that the effect turned out okay, and the next time we do it and the next time that we do something like this, it's gonna look even better. So don't be afraid to try stuff, and if you don't have a budget, that's okay. All you need is a ton of green screen and a little bit of crazy. Anyhow, that ought to do it. I'll see you guys later. Go out and make something weird today. Or not.
Next time you see me, I'll be wearing black and gold.
Just like that. See how that lights that up?
You are at
Pull it off
home
for a little
because
bit.
I'm standing outside looking through your window.
Thumbs up. Stings him on the foot because we were so shocked, and then he just turns around.
Pick up the phone, let it up, give me a sign. Oh, pick it up.
Nailed it.
I got some in my mouth.
You can't say